Rachel is halfway to Target on her lunch break when her life tilts sideways. She's driving, thinking about children's medication, what to make for dinner, when her husband calls saying that their 6-year-old is sick at school and she needs to go pick him up. Rachel, without even thinking, turns the car, starts heading towards the school, but then all of a sudden something catches in her chest. Wait a minute, the school called him first? Months ago, her husband promised that he would fix the forms at school where she's the primary contact. Yet here she is, late again to comfort her kiddo because this school doesn't seem to know she exists. But Rachel has no idea this isn't a mistake. Soon she'll learn that someone has quietly stepped into her place on those school forms, all without Rachel's consent. This is a story about a family who has been slowly trying to erase the wife. Part 1. To understand how Rachel ends up here, we have to go back to when everything still felt and looked like love. Years earlier, Rachel meets her future husband in a small rural town. She grew up in chaos, so his tight-knit family felt like safety. People in the community talked about how close this family was, and that word close becomes a blanket that Rachel uses to wrap around every single uneasy feeling. Early in their dating, his mother showed up everywhere, just constantly calling, wanting to know every single detail about his life, what he had for lunch, everything. And then one night, he asked, "Can my mom join us on our date? I mean, she just happens to be in the area. That wouldn't be a problem, right?" Mind you, they're in their late 20s at this point, but who is she to question this? Her family was never close. So not only did the mom come on that date, she started coming on more dates and then sleeping over, even at Rachel's apartment, taking Rachel's bed, kicking her to the couch. The sister is just as present, sending her brother just provocative looking selfies with his best friends. And when she was like, "That's kind of weird," he just said, "Oh, our family is just super playful." Over time, patterns start to grow. His parents appear on their vacations. Rachel thinks she's planning a vacation just for the couple, but then all of a sudden his mom and dad are going to be miraculously staying in the same town at the same hotel. Oh my gosh, what a coincidence. Until Rachel starts picking up on details from childhood stories where he starts saying like, "Yeah, my mom and sister, they used to eavesdrop on me and my friends, and then they would just pop up where they knew we were hanging out just by accident, and we would all end up hanging out as a group." Rachel starts talking to her coworkers about this dynamic. Their mouths would drop open. They told her to run, red flag city, and she had her blinders on. So she ignored her knots in her stomach and she decided to stop sharing stories with them. Soon they marry. Later, they have a baby. And when that happens, that closeness starts walking through the door as if they own the place. Soon after the birth, his sister comes over carrying a wad of herbs, walking through the house, waving smoke, saying, "I have to clear this home of your bad energy," pointing to Rachel, to protect the baby. So Rachel, standing there postpartum in a haze, clutching her newborn, feeling absolutely exposed in her home, she doesn't protest, nothing. After she leaves, her and her husband decide, "Yeah, you're probably overreacting. You're probably just being a little bit sensitive. Like the hormones are making you a little bit more raw than normal." From there, the family's attention intensifies. Not only are they asking for constant updates, they want proof of what Rachel is cooking. They FaceTime 3 to 5 times a day. They start dropping out constant criticisms, but they just say they're jokes. Stories start appearing about her online. They're just for fun, obviously, but it's always at Rachel's expense. Rachel keeps trying to be easy and flexible. I mean, she just wants to be a part of the family. She wants to be a person that can handle it. But what they do next, she can't even laugh it off. It starts with a message about her baby, and it ends with the first time Rachel finally admits to herself that this family might not just be close, they might actually be trying to erase her from the story altogether. I'll see you in part 2. We left off with Rachel still telling herself that this is just what a close family does. Her sister-in-law had already walked through her house, smoking sage all over, claiming that Rachel had bad energy, that her baby needed protecting from her own mother's presence. Rachel at the time was still learning how to care for her newborn, getting her bearings, and someone else was declaring her too hard to be around in her own home. Now she swallowed it. Time passed. And then another baby came along with a message from her sister-in-law calling her baby ugly. Now, Rachel decides, I can't take this. So she reacts and the family completely shifts, completely cuts her out altogether. And that is when Rachel realizes, oh, in this family, you can't stand up even if it's to protect your young. After that, Rachel stops going to family events. I mean, she just can't take it. She tells her husband, you go enjoy the kids with your family, but I'm going to stay home. And she thinks she's just keeping the peace. She never wants to be that kind of woman that stands in the way of her husband having a relationship with his family. But then a night arrives where the kids are sad. They don't want to be away from their mom. They want her to come with. So she's feeling guilty. She tells herself, come on, you can do it. Like, you can wade through all the criticisms. And she goes. And when she walks into her in-laws' home, she freezes. What? There's a professional photographer. There's a backdrop. He's unloading his equipment. The cousins are all in matching outfits. There's outfits laid out for her children. No one ever told her that there was going to be a family photo shoot. Everyone looks at her and gives her the whole message, you were never part of this plan. You're not supposed to be here. Weeks later, a photo album is made for each one of the grandkids, thick, glossy, the kind that you put on your coffee table. Rachel flips through it. She's not really paying attention. She's just very uncomfortable at her in-laws' house. She sets it down, but then her oldest spends the entire visit looking at every single picture. Just keeps looking and looking and looking. Doesn't say a word, just looks and studies it. And it wasn't until the drive home that he started crying, saying, Mom, why are you not in one picture in the family photo album? Rachel didn't really know what to say. She got home, she looked, she confirmed, yeah, she wasn't included. And it was a very thick, tons and tons of photos. Her husband said, oh, it's just a mistake, just an oversight, let it go. And she clarified, she's like, no, that's a hard challenge to go through that many photos with just 2 adult children and, some grandkids. You have to really try hard to make sure out of all those photos that I'm not in one. So he decides to talk to his mom. His mom denies it, says it's just an accident. My gosh, you're being too sensitive. But within days, she produces this brand new instant print photo book just for Rachel. It includes every photo of Rachel, flattering, unflattering, photos where she's just half in the frame, shoved together for a collection. And on the cover, in big letters, it has Rachel's first name and middle name. And the last name, the family name, doesn't appear at all. It's just a patch job that accidentally proves the point. This woman who married into this family is not seen as part of it. And somehow, this is not the worst thing they do. The biggest move to erase Rachel doesn't happen in a living room or a photo album. It happens quietly in an office on a stack of school forms. It's time to go back to the day that the school stopped calling the mother first and finally see why. And the answer is going to make you feel sick. I'll see you in part 3. For months, the school has called Rachel's husband first when there's something wrong with her children, even though she's listed as the primary contact. She feels in her gut like something's wrong, but there's no proof. The proof shows up months later in a manila folder. After the photo album incident, Rachel and her husband start therapy along with her oldest child. He gets his own therapist. And the therapist is really concerned about this family's behavior. They're so concerned about the jokes, the house cleansing, the 3 to 5 FaceTime calls every single day, the album where they attempted to erase Rachel from the story altogether. So after much discussion with a therapist, they decided, yeah, maybe some space would be good. So they found a house about an hour away, far enough to breathe, but close enough where everyone in the new community still knows of this perfectly close family. When they enroll their kids in the new school, the secretary pulls the transfer file from the old district, places it on the desk, turns the forms towards them, and she asks, does everything look correct? Is everything good? And in the middle of the form, what Rachel sees knocks the air right out of her. The file says the father does not live with the children, and right before that, the first person, the emergency contact, isn't Rachel. It's her mother-in-law. Rachel struggles to swallow. Her heart is beating just so hard against her ribs. They tell the office lady, we would have never done that. What in the world? How could this have happened? And then a tiny detail slides into place. Rachel's mother-in-law has been a substitute working in the school's office just to be closer to the grandkids. She would have had access to those records. She would have had access to those forms. When they tell the therapist, she gets really concerned. She's like, okay, this is no longer a boundary issue like you're calling it. You have to stop calling it that. This is a safety concern. So after a lot of sessions, a lot of discussions, they decide it's just not even an option anymore for Rachel and the kids to be in contact with this family. So they go fully no contact. The husband still has limited contact. He starts his own therapy just to try to untangle his own family stuff, but they both agree they cannot pretend this is harmless anymore. But here's where the couple sits now and needs your help. They are no contact except for the husband, and the parents are driving an hour to every single sporting event. They show up big and proud with gifts that show everybody we are indeed one big happy family. And Rachel, her husband, the kids, no one in this family wants them there driving an hour to act like heroes that are just stepping on their stage. So the question now becomes this. When someone has tried to erase you on paper, in photos, and in the stories that they tell, what do you do when they walk through public doors to be close to your children anyway? Wow, what an experience that you have had to go through. I am so sorry. And I'm really glad that you guys went the therapy route, like couples therapy, but then realizing, okay, your husband has his own work to do. And so he, branched off and now he's with his own therapist, figuring out how to untether with his family. That's beautiful. Like great work there. Also to get your eldest his own therapist, you're doing all the right things. So regarding your in-laws, his parents coming to every single event like heroes with gifts and all that stuff, you unfortunately cannot control who walks through public doors at a public event. But if this were my story, I would control where I sit, because I would not want to send my children the message that this was okay. So for me, I would go into therapy with my husband and work with the therapist on creating a script for him that he feels comfortable saying. He would practice it a bunch of times, but essentially he's gonna go to his parents and say, based on everything you've done, until you acknowledge it, take responsibility, show empathy, remorse, apologize, and then also show us like what you're gonna do to make sure it never happens again. We don't want you at these events. We don't want you showing up. We, meaning family. Now, we can't prevent you from coming, but just know you're not wanted. And if you show up, we will be sitting separately. That is what I would do. What would you do?